Hello and welcome. It's like I'm doing a Halloween cast, doesn't it? Hello, welcome to Mann's Model Moments. Apologies, I had to shift the time a little bit. I've actually relocated, as you can probably tell, to my study, my home office, which is a little bit warmer than sitting out in the garage at the moment, and a lot drier. So we'll see how we get on. Let me just have a little look at the chat. So, good evening, Graham. Good evening, Adrian. I did indeed enjoy Telford. No doubt I'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And hello, Tristan. A select group, just 8 people on the stream tonight. We'll see if more people join as we go along. So yeah, Telford was interesting. I was there for 2 days. I went down on Friday night, stayed over till Sunday afternoon, came back at 3:30. I didn't stay to the very bitter end. I picked up my outlaw paints and then headed down because I knew I'd have to pop them into the shop. So I didn't want to be too late back. As it happened, the M6 was horrible, so Waze took me away from that, so I went cross country. So it actually took me 4 hours to get back rather than 3 hours, which was not ideal. But anywho, got back safe and well, unloaded the paints, shop opened on Monday, all is good. So just getting all the bits of the old Hawk out. I haven't done anything at all to the Hawk since we last spoke. So it's very much as it was. Let's get the pieces here. I think I may have left one little piece. Doesn't matter, I can add that at a later time. So let me push you down to the bench. And actually, in some ways, that didn't work. That's better. Hi, John Alec. In some ways, this might be better because we've got, I see, a dark faux wood surface. Move my mouse off to the side a little bit. And because the Hawk is white, we get much better contrast there than we were seeing before. I think I left my tools in the hotel room in Telford, however, which is a bit of a faux pas. I need to get in touch with them because I just bought a new scalpel because I lost my prior one. Typical. Everything else in there doesn't really matter, but yeah, the scalpel is the one. So it doesn't really matter for this build for tonight. I don't think. It just means I'll have a little bit more cleaning up to do when I come back to this model. So yes, as you recall, the Hawk was left in the state. So hull is all done. The 2 big boosters are done. The big main central engine piece is where we got to after having some problems with pieces 5 and 6 there. We now have the 2 8 pieces. I think one of these is one that I've left in here in the shed, but I don't think that's. I think those are readily accessible all the way through, so I can add that on afterwards. That's not an issue. Right, let me get on then. So Telford, by what, 3:30 on the Saturday, I was kind of done with models. I'd had enough of them. You kind of get to that point where you're just saturated and you can't really take anything in. Don't forget the sexy gogs. And it was just, one model after another, and you just think, I can't even distinguish and differentiate between these anymore. Now, I am putting together a video. I haven't finished it yet. I'm just working out the final kind of pieces. I basically didn't want to do the whole show like I normally do shows. I will go around all of the stuff. Telford is just simply too big for that, right? You've got 3 enormous halls. It is, if you go to the Telford International Centre on the web, you can see the size of Telford. It's not the biggest exhibition space in the UK, and certainly not if you're in the US. You know, if you've been to those, if you've been to a con in, say, San Diego, or the old, God, what was it called? I can't remember. But the cons that they have, these big halls in Indy and Philadelphia and stuff, they are just huge. They're vast. It's not that scale, but I think it's something like 40,000 people over the course of the weekend. That's a lot of modelers, you know. They tend to be primarily from the UK and from Europe because, of course, travel is much easier for people in the UK. You do get people from Australia, you do get people from all over the world, but obviously any con or convention, meeting, whatever that you hold in the UK is going to be much easier for people from the UK to attend, especially, of course, now with Brexit, making travel a little bit more difficult than it was before. For some nations, at least. We do tend to have a very UK-centric view of modelling. But I'm hoping in the next year or so to get out to Adepticon or Gen Con out in the US, because those are, well, those make the IPMS look like adolescents in terms of cons. But anyway, going back to the original point, which was the video. So I'm not going to do. Miss Modeler has actually put out a video where she's diligently gone through all of the club stands. So if you're interested in seeing all the club stand side of things, I would recommend go and check out her video. What I'm going to do, what I've done so far, I don't know whether to make it a 2-part or a single-part video. I'll probably make it 2 parts because they're quite different. Is I went through the first hall, which is the smallest of the 3, and I did go through that. I've basically put it on double time so that you can watch it on YouTube at half speed, and then that will be normal if you really want to do that. And it also keeps the time down. And also cutting out all the pieces where people walk in front of you, you know, you're going between stands and stuff, also reduces that, you know, total amount of video time down. I mean, I could have kept all of those in to keep the true con experience of frustration with the, let's call them, less socially aware element of the human species. But that's not what you watch videos, right? You don't watch videos to become annoyed, generally. Some people do, but so what I did, as I say, I went through the first hall and kind of went through fairly diligently to show everything, give you a flavour of what it's like. And basically, if you just multiply that by about 5, you've probably got the whole thing, because as I say, the other 2 halls are larger. They have most of the traders in. They have the competition area. You've got Airfix and the likes. So I did the first hall, double time on video, you know, with all the really dull bits cut out. And then I went across to the Airfix stand, did the Airfix piece so that you've got good renditions of the... Did I just cut off 2 locating lugs? No, I haven't. Good. Sorry. While I'm talking to myself, I'm kind of distracting myself as well. So yeah, just so that you get a good view of what Airfix had presented, obviously the 410 release, the Gannet. They also had a couple of other pieces which are coming out in the very near future. The Bloodhound, which I'm actually quite looking forward to, because I remember doing that as a kid. I remember as a kid not being really satisfied with the way I had done it. And it's also a cool missile, right? It's a massive surface-to-air missile. It's also got a little Land Rover with it, which is quite cool. And as Moss will tell you, Airfix's first actual Land Rover that they designed, rather than the J&B one, they later got the tools for, or if not got the tools for, at least produced under license. So if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I'm using the single blade on my single bladed nippers as a hobby knife here, which is not ideal, but you know, needs must. Then I'll come back once all this is all done. I'll actually come back, and any visible edges I will sand off. But they're not too bad. And that engine piece, actually, that main engine piece went together pretty well. It's also a really weird thing. I would love to know what they originally used for this piece. This main piece was the top off some sort of aerosol, long lost to the mists of time. What that actually was. Hi, Dave. Welcome to the chat. So yes, and John Alec, I got some footage of the Great Western as well, which looks quite nice. The way Airfix have done it. Just checking that I'm doing the right thing here. Yes, I am. However, I still think you're mad. To want one, it looks like it's going to be a lot of work, because yeah, it looks nice the way Airfix have done it with all the rigging and everything on, but that's not standard, right? In the same way that when they made their Sea Kings, you know, they put all of the handrails and stuff on, which aren't included in the kit, which I was a little bit surprised about. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of work in that Great Western, but it's a pretty chunky kit. It's pretty big. I'm sure you will enjoy it. The Gannet, of course, was, I think, for me, the standout on the Airfix stand. Surprisingly, I didn't really see that many people talking that much about it. I mean, plenty of people looking at it, and you know, but there wasn't kind of like a big queue going around the block. I think the 410 kind of took a lot of the attention away. I'm afraid my experience of the 410 has been somewhat sullied by the way Airfix are currently trialing this preferential distributor treatment, which is, as I am sure you are all aware, in my opinion, pure BS. And I did have a good chat with Dale. I really don't buy the answers they're giving. It's just doesn't really hold water, which is a bit of a shame. But hey. Okay, so this, I don't know quite how that is supposed to fit, but it doesn't seem to be fitting in the same way that this one is. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But if you guys didn't see Airfix and Chill last night, we kind of had a good debrief on that. So if you want to know what our opinions, sort of highs and lows of Telford, that probably is the best place for you to go, I think. So there's a little lug on this, which I think is a little bit too big on this side. Because I would normally use my hobby knife, or in my case my scalpel, to go in and trim, but we're going to have to do it this way. It still looks like it's too big. Because the other one is kind of sitting flush. Ah, there. That is now perfect. Ah, they just pop in place. Nice. Didn't do that to start with. Okay. There we go. It's a little bit longer. Hang on a minute. Is that on the right way around? Yes, it is. Okay. Sorry, I just had to check. I thought I'd made the mistake, but I hadn't. It's not always apparent from these instructions. It's not always apparent. It's like that's assembly 7. Unless you're looking at some of the detail pieces, which of course you should be. Of course you should be. But it's not obvious that that is the top and that is the bottom. You know, you can second guess yourself when you then look at this, because the way they've drawn this here, it doesn't really look like this assembly. So you think, hang on a minute, have I put them the right way around? It's like, is that this? And it is. It's just they haven't drawn the ridges in, so it's not immediately apparent. So the instructions could certainly use a little bit more clarity, I feel. It's certainly not, you know, Airfix or Revell 2023 standard. Right. Now our little, I don't know, what would you call this? It's probably some sort of fuel and storage tank, isn't it? It's supposed to go on that lug here, like that, kinda. Yeah. Okay. Kind of vague kind of fitment there. I might need the other one to actually attach this next piece. Oh no, no I don't. Because this dotted line, again, clarity instructions. There's a dotted line here which actually goes underneath this to here. They could have positioned that a little bit better, but hey, who am I to question MPC on their instructions? Other than a modeler trying to actually follow them. Apart from that, who am I? And then we have these little thin pieces, 37B. Oh, that's interesting. 37B on both sides. And 38 at the back. Oh, okay. Interesting that. Oh, wait a minute. That is. Is that? Wait a minute. Yeah, it is. Sorry, I'm just second guessing again because it's just not very clear. So I think 37B parts. Oh, no. You're going to have to bear with me today. I'm obviously not quite all here because here is. I had this piece before, but here it's the other half of it. 35A. 36A, even though no A and B is called out in the instructions. Yeah, so Dave, it is. I mean, I've been in distribution. Let's see, when was I first a distribution manager? Back in 2000 and. Well, no, I first was in distribution in 1998, I think. The distribution management as part of a sales management job I was doing. And that's where I kind of cut my teeth with distribution management. But I was a pure distribution manager, only doing distribution, not as part of a wider commercial role. In, let's see, 2008, I think, 2007, 2008, because it was after the bank crash. Just after that. When I left a company called Agilent Technologies, who are the scientific branch, or used to be the scientific branch of Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard span off the scientific bit because they thought, oh, all the money in our business is in printers, so we're going to do that. And then, of course, the scientific side really took off, and printing kind of got massively competitive. So that happened. Bit of a faux pas. And I've had 3 roles, I think, where I've managed distributors. Both, they've all been international distribution management positions as well. So some of them have just been Western Europe, or predominantly Western Europe. Some of them have also covered or just been emerging markets. And giving preferential treatment to any distributor is a dangerous path to go down. There is no better way of pissing off other distributors than to give somebody else a better deal without any clarity, right? If you say, if it's in a contract, if it's like, if you do, X amount of business, you'll get Y amount of discount, and it gets more if you do this much business. That's all fine, right? That's all above board, and everybody understands that, and those targets are set so that people strive to get those levels of business, to get that kind of higher discount, or whatever the incentive is. But to just give preferential treatment for no apparent reason on a kind of whim as a trial, not so good. So 37B, we actually have 3 37Bs, 2 37As, which is interesting. I don't actually see any physical difference between the parts. This is a very interesting kit. If Graham is still on, Graham, I got your email last night. Oh, sugar. That was that part I glued, I think. No, it wasn't. No, the part I glued was there. Okay, these little parts are quite brittle because I just cut one and a piece went sploinging off. There it is. There's that tiny piece. Can you see it there? But yes, Graham, I got your email. I sent a reply to it in the afternoon, actually. I don't know what happened. Our emails must have crossed over. It didn't. Oh, that one's just come off as well. That's not good. It's a 37A piece. Let's put that over there. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Yeah, so emails must have crossed over. So The Academy F-35 is in, sitting to one side for you. I'm just waiting for the Hunter. Unfortunately, Hornby, so the F-35 arrived yesterday. Oh, that's broken as well. Wow, these pieces are just falling to pieces. Not good. Yeah, so the Academy order arrived yesterday. The Airfix order came in today, and unfortunately was missing a box. So it's supposed to have 3 cartons, and only 2 turned up, which I didn't realise, of course, until I opened them. Because when you open them, it tells you how many, you get your delivery note, and it says yes, 3 boxes. I'm like, I only got 2. The delivery driver was very sure about him having 2 boxes. And apparently, for some reason, after contacting Hornby, it was split into 2 shipments. I have no idea why. It was a single order, all placed at once, but hey. So that's Hornby's prerogative. Okay. I think I've glued these on kind of the wrong way round, upside down, if you will, because the little prongs, I think, are supposed to go down. The little prongs with attachment pieces. Yeah, these little Y-shaped pieces are not the best. And considering these are actually supposed to be, strengthening supports for the ship, that's so good. I don't think it'll be an issue when they're on, because when they're on, as you can probably see here, there are really solid attachment points in this, what do you call it, engine reactor pod or something. So I think they're going to be pretty solid when they're in. Although, again, wrong way round. I mean, equally, this is one of those parts that could easily be replaced by pretty much anybody with an absolute beginner model. Unfortunately, I think this is the sort of kit that an absolute beginner modeler might end up getting, because it's not a traditional modeling subject. Somebody who likes Space 1999 might see this in a shop and think, oh, that's cool, I remember that as a kid. Or a kid might see it and think that's a cool spaceship, having no idea, obviously, of the 1960s show or 70s show. Okay. 1 down. Let's say the attachment points here do leave a little bit to be desired. They're very deep. The actual pins that go in them aren't that deep. So they do leave a little bit of a kind of unsatisfying feel for the finished piece. Excellent. I have, sorry, I'm saying excellent to something that I'm looking at on the screen. So that was a really good segue, actually, Graham, into the Vintage Wings Challenge. So I put my notices in the shop for the Vintage Wings Challenge. I got together with basically my order that came yesterday was from Bachmann. Bachmann distribute for all kinds of different companies, Academy being one of the main ones in terms of plastic kit manufacturers. But they also do things like Woodland Scenics, which is a company that, if you guys know model railway people or have done dioramas in the past, they make a lot of scenic materials like, scenic scatter, clump foliage, snow, all that kind of stuff. And it's always something that I wanted to get in the shop. So that is part of what that order was. But I also got some Academy to do some World War I kits. They do, I think, it's a Newport, and it's a Newport 7 maybe, and a Sopwith Camel. And they're really cheap. They're like £4. I don't know how good they are, but they're cheap. So for £4, I think you can't really complain too much. Injection molded kit for £4 in 2023 is like, well, even if you're using it as the most basic platform for creating something yourself, then it's still pretty good, I think. Where else can you? I mean, that's the price of a Costa, basically. Penny's Pit Stop, welcome. I think you're all being drawn in by the talk of World War I aircraft. I guess Penny's Pit Stop also has pre-ordered some World War I aircraft from me, and Taggers, who I haven't seen in the chat today and usually makes himself pretty visible when they are, said that seemed to be a secret thing happening at the shop. And I was like, what? And it's just like, oh, you're doing mystery bundles. Because Penny's Pit Stop was like, well, just get me a selection of aircraft. World War I. This is the kind of, how much will I spend? And stipulations are, one German, one French, one British. Otherwise, whatever. And Taggers was like, well, doing mystery bundles. I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. For those who like mystery bundles but don't like the complete randomness of something. Taggers is in, yes. But for people who like, bundles and surprises, let's say, a bit of mystery, but don't like too much mystery. But I must admit, I am one of those people that does not like too much mystery, right? It's nice to have a surprise if it's stuff that you like. Put it that way, if you get, aircraft bundle with 4 aircraft kits, and you like World War II aircraft, and they're all, MiG-19s and Sukhois and other Cold War stuff, you're just like, oh, okay, that's disappointing. But I think the idea of having a mystery bundle, which is, okay, this is the kind of budget I have. I like World War II 1/72 scale fighters. And then I send you a selection of those subjects that you don't know what exactly they are. I think that's quite cool. So that is something. I'm trying to think of how I actually implement that in the shop. I mean, obviously, I think it's going to be something of a dialogue. If you order this part, you have to leave your email address, and I know I'll think of that a bit. That is one of the current things on my mind. Pressing thing for the shop for tomorrow is to get the Outlaw paints checked through and on the website. I've got a small amount of Airfix stuff that arrived today that was properly accounted for on the missing stuff, obviously, on the website. Outlaw paint is next, which will probably be a lot more work. I'm getting the deluxe material stuff, got an order for those going in. And of course, they cover a lot of the rail modelers. Did I actually cement this before? I didn't think I did. How is the water situation? I do actually have half in the can a video update on the shop. I was kind of waiting until I updated everything yesterday. And of course I got the order from Bachman in today. I got the order from Hornby, and so that kind of delayed it a little bit, shoved it out, because there's obviously getting the stock in and getting it on the shelves and things is more important. But I do have a video update, and hopefully, maybe we can get that up in the next couple of days. There's a lot to do. I've got a huge backlog of videos, basically. I have about 3 videos for ICM, who have been exceptionally patient. I've explained the situation to them, and they've been really good. I have a couple of videos for a company that does metal kits, which is a bit different. I've got a video of a high bypass turbofan engine, which needs to go up. I've got a 3D printer video that needs to go up. I think I have 5 videos for ICM to go up. I've got a video on Airfix, which I wanted to wait till I'd spoken to Airfix before I I go whole ham on them. And it's not it just to give you. I mean, I hope you guys know from my channel and stuff by now, but it's not just moaning. It's how does Airfix take the next step? What do they need to do to improve? So no surprises, really. We all know what Airfix need to do to improve. You know, one of the big ones is QC. I think Moss and I mentioned it a lot on Beyond the Box. Oh, there's also a Beyond the Box episode coming out. I've just been doing the final editing. I was hoping to get it out tonight, but time got away from me. I had a couple of customers come into the shop, and not good form to ignore customers and just do video editing instead, I find. It doesn't tend to do too well for business. But that will definitely go out tomorrow. And then I've got one more episode of Beyond the Box to finish editing on audio. And then we switched over to a video format. And the reason Moss and I have switched over to video, 2 main reasons really. One is video is far easier to edit than audio, which is counterintuitive, right? But with audio, so how you're recording it is different, one thing. I use Audacity to edit video, which is really good. But there are no visual cues. Well, there are visual cues, but there aren't the same visual cues that you have in video. Video is easy to see when you've messed up and when there are bits to cut out. And of course, the other reason is that we can put that straight onto the podcast, straight onto the YouTube, both of our YouTubes, so we can get it out to regular audiences more easily. And from that, it's exceptionally easy. You can just import the video into Audacity and export it as an audio file. So the audio will still be, and will go out at the same time as the video. Hopefully gives us a wider audience. So that's what's happening with Beyond the Box. It hasn't gone away. It is just the editing time, the audio, much greater than video. Plus, of course, Moss isn't used to editing video, editing audio. He is video, so we can divide and conquer a little bit more, I think, with the video version. And there are other benefits as well. You get to see some of the things we're talking about in real time. We can share screenshots of stuff, all that kind of good stuff that you get from video. Of course, we'll be mindful that some people will only be listening on audio, so we'll still describe stuff. But if you're watching on YouTube, it just makes it a little bit easier. Let's see. Okay. Found some tanks in my aircraft section. Some tanks snuck into the aircraft section, did they? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's because the way the shop is organized, it's through Shopify, and you can assign tags to collections. So to make collections to like where you put all your stuff, it's all done by algorithm, and it of course makes maintenance of everything much easier. Of course, if you assign the right tags, and if you're duplicating entries to make things simpler, and then sometimes I get the tags wrong. But worth knowing. Thank you. I shall try and I do go through regularly and try and eke out my mistakes, but it's a constant thing, of course, and there are only so many hours in the day. And if you can, there are a fair few things I have on my plate at any one time. Far too many, really. Hi, James. Hi, Nunu. My computer is telling me I have an update available. I have no desire to do that. Thank you. Right, so we were at piece 38. Wherever piece 38 is. Nope. Right there, next to 37A and 37, or sorry, the 37As and the 37Bs. Now, how exactly does that cut off? That's a bit vague. Okay, going to be a little bit careful with that because it does protrude further than the connecting pin, and it's a bit vague as to where it ends. But that does make it easy to know exactly which way it goes on. Small mercies. Yeah, so if you do want a World War I aircraft from me for the, so I just need to concentrate when I get this bit in, for the Vintage Wings Challenge, do have a look and let me know soon, because I will be putting that order in the next day or so. And once it's in, and I probably won't be ordering any more for a while, because there are minimum carriage or minimum orders from wholesalers, suppliers I should say, and both minimum orders. Well, some have just minimum orders, right? You can't order below a certain level. And then some have, you don't necessarily have a minimum order, but you have a minimum carriage paid order, which of course, if you're doing one or two kits, and then it's £10 carriage, that just kills any profit you would make on the kit, and you might as well get somebody to order it from Jadlam. Okay, they're not the easiest pieces to fit, I would say. Yes, Dave, I did get that. Thank you. Enjoy the purple platform. Right, now we're starting moving on. Okay, I've already put the torpedoes on. We have these two pieces, 9L and 9R, which also go under the wings. I think they're like landing pad things. And then we have these large pieces, which of course I've already cut one off, just doing a test fitting. I cut off 25, which is this side. So you see these are sort of platforms that kind of sit flat with this base and provide somewhere for these to go. The fit of them it's okay, but it's a little bit tenuous as to what that angle is supposed to be. Or I know what the angle is supposed to be, but there's no real way of the piece. The piece doesn't hold itself in that angle. So we'll see how this goes. I think it's quite important that this, from the looks of it, is flush. So it's not. That is actually pushing the piece away from where it nestles into this side. I'd be quite interested to see a side-by-side comparison, actually, of this and the original MPC Hawk, just to see, did they just clean up the accuracy of the kit, but keep the main way that the kit is put together, or did they approach it completely afresh? I suppose I could have a look on ScaleMates, actually, instructions, and just see comparison instructions side by side. Yeah, if I wasn't doing this on a live stream, I think it would probably put these pieces on and leave those to cure for a fair while before going back to them, seeing as that we're putting other pieces on them. Okay, that's interesting. That actually has a little nubbin. Did the other one? We did. I think I might have cut off. I did. Okay, see if I can remedy that one. So I've said many times, there are no complete dead ends in modelling. If you can see this on the camera, this is this little piece here, which looks like it's just an extra extruded piece. That's not. That's actually a little bit on the end of this platform. This is where single-bladed nippers really come into their own. I think single-bladed nippers are one of the big changes for me. One of the tools that's really changed. Not necessarily the way that I model, but almost the way that I model, because they just allow Sorry, I'm going to mess this up if I don't concentrate. I could drop it if I don't concentrate. Yeah, I mean, before I was spending a lot more time trimming pieces, from the, the sort of 3 pound crushing type, the double jawed ones, which basically just crush the plastic. Spend a lot more time with my scalpel cleaning pieces up, and single bladed nippers have really helped in reducing that time. They're one of the most, I would say, time saving innovations that I've introduced to my modeling over the last year, 18 months, say. So if you haven't tried a pair of single bladed nippers, I would definitely recommend them. There's a little bit of a learning curve with them. I would say not very much, but there is a little bit. You can't just use them exactly the same way that you would a standard pair. But the time that they save in cleaning up parts and what they allow you to do, I don't think I would be without them. If I had the choice of, I could only have either single bladed or double bladed nippers forever, I would go with the single bladed. But it's still there. I was just wondering whether I'd brushed off as a piece of excess plastic the little piece that I broke off that attaching strut earlier. So the only two parts now to do under here are these two little feet, let's call them. There are some pretty bad pin ejector marks on the back of these, actually. Fortunately, they are on the underside of them, and they will be very accessible when they're attached, so I'm not going to worry too much about them now. Normally, of course, you would clean them up before putting them on the model, but limited time and scope here, so we can do that afterwards. So 9L. One thing I really like about this, though, is, okay, so that's 9L, right? Let me cut off 9R. Okay, and that way, put them in my hands and shake them up. And you think, Alex, what the hell have you done? And it's like, well, it doesn't matter, because this one has a little nub and this one has a long nub. So it's very easy to see which goes where, because they are handed. You can only put one on one side and one on the other. So nice and easy. Oh, is Matt streaming tonight as well? Oh, didn't realise. That would explain why there were only 8 people on to start with. I thought I'd said something bad at Airfix and Chill. Well, I mean, I did, but I thought something worse than normal. Yeah, I don't know whether you can actually see there the ejector pin marks, but they are big. I mean, if you're displaying it, down on something, it doesn't matter anyway. But if you're putting it as they intend you to on the stand, so that it's sort of in flight and up like this, it's going to be very easy to see those. So I think you kind of do need to do something about them, probably. I mean, I will most certainly, but as I say, they're nice and accessible, so it doesn't really matter for the purposes of certainly of the stream. Good. We don't have many parts to go, guys. We're on the last page. We should, fingers crossed, be able to knock this out in the next hour. So now we come to assembly 2 and assembly 3. If you can't remember which they are, it doesn't really matter because they've got big slots on the underside of them. They only fit one way again. So that again is nice. The fit of them is again a bit tenuous. It's not too bad actually. A little precious there. I mean, there's not an awful lot holding them on. But it's starting to look a little bit more like it should now. Now, one of the guys that I met, I think I alluded to this on Airfix and Chill. I saw a guy that I haven't seen for the best part of 20 years physically. We both had young kids, and I last met him, and our kids are all grown up now. But there's a guy called Phil Stachinkas, and he is the most talented modeler I have ever met. He's a super nice guy as well. As you often find with very talented people, he's very humble. And he offered to do a couple of things. He offered to do some interviews, so we're going to try and get him on Beyond the Box. I introduced him to Sully and Demos, and he also said he'd come down to the shop and give some demonstrations, some airbrushing demonstrations and stuff, which is unbelievably nice. And Phil has big modeling props. He used to work with he used to do modeling work for Spencer Pollard when they worked on Military International, whatever it was, the magazine. Before that, Phil was a professional model maker. He used to do a lot of the painting for the resin figures, like the 1/9, 1/12 scale, the big sort of 150mm figures. So he used to paint all the figures for the companies, before the internet and any of those kind of things enabled you to just do easy digital photography. Before digital photography, in fact. He worked for Games Workshop. He actually worked for Forge World rather than Games Workshop, but it's all the same company. It's just different parts of it. No actual difference. He still got paid by Games Workshop. He was really the last of their physical sculptors. He worked there for 12 years. And he only gave it up because commuting between Stoke-on-Trent and Nottingham was a bit of a drag with young kids, or growing kids. So if anybody can make it down to the shop when we arrange Phil to come over, I really, really recommend it. It's definitely worth the trip. Amazing diorama creator, amazing painter, sculpts. He had some displays at the Four Corners. That's his kind of club, Four Corners. Had a display at Telford, and a lot of the figures on his dioramas he sculpts himself. because he can't find what he wants. And just a super nice guy, and I learned an awful lot of very cool tricks from him. So no, I don't know anything about. Well, obviously, I know roughly when the Gannet is coming out, in the same way that everybody else knows roughly when the Gannet is coming out. I can pre-order the Gannet, much as anybody else can. That's all I can really say about the Gannet. I mean, releases that are known about aren't really the issue, right? Because everybody knows about them. It's those surprise releases that are the real issue. Because if I don't know about them until they're announced, but an other supplier, especially a large supplier like Jadlam, does know about it, they can get their website up and ready. They've got stock because they've been able to pre-order before anybody else. So they're going to get all of those pre-orders, right? They're also big enough that they've got a credit account with Hornby, so they will get the money for those orders before Airfix does. So for them, there's no risk, right? For me, I have to physically buy what I want from Airfix with my own money, right? And give it to Airfix before they will ship anything. I do not have a credit account. They do not give credit accounts out easily. In fact, they give credit accounts out a lot less easily than a lot of other companies do. So that makes it hard, right? It makes it hard when you're playing catch up with people who can already supply, who already apply big discounts. You're left playing catch up and you're getting the crumbs under the table. So, as I say, I had a really good chat with Dale, but apparently during the Sea King, well, no, I can't really talk about it, but I'm not a kind of kiss and tell guy. But yeah, Jadlam's business practices to me are not the best. I think giving preferential treatment to a distributor that behaves on the borders of acceptability are not really the way to do business. But I don't want to become boring with it all. It will sound like, oh, it's just Alex being pissed off because of the company. If I didn't have the shop, I'd say exactly the same thing, right? It's not fair on small businesses, no matter who they are, whether it's mine or somebody else's, in a time which is hard on small businesses anyway. Anything that makes it harder, I think, is not really great. What I can say about the Gannet is it looked fantastic. If any of you were at Telford and did see it, I think you can probably agree. It's a fantastic looking kit, and the work that the designers have done on it, as we would expect from recent Airfix releases, is fantastic. So much like the Spitfire last year, it will be a kit that I will be buying and reviewing. But again, that'll be on my own dollar. Hopefully that assures people that I'm not just saying what Airfix, incite me to say by having me at events like the Sea King one. Although I don't know whether I will get an invite to another such event. Now I am a trader. Though, to be honest, I don't really see what difference it makes. Well, she's coming along, look. Look at that. Now, I think part of what makes these models, and the original model maker, has to be applauded for this. What makes them look believable, even though they're a sci-fi ship, is they're kind of grounded in, I won't say like reality or physics, but they have elements that are created from existing spaceships, like the Apollo kits that he used. So all this cross bracing and stuff is believable because it's the same stuff that existed on spaceships in the 70s, right? Rather than it being, just like a, let's say like the Starship Enterprise, which has no real cues from a real life spaceship to make it believable in that way. In fact, really, it's the opposite. It's showing that how much technology has progressed that it actually confounds what you would expect from normal technology. Although some elements still make sense, like putting the engines away from the body. Anything that does that is a little bit more believable because, let's face it, if you've got two things that are capable of throwing you faster than light and handling that much energy, you probably don't want them near people, where people live. If one of those things goes up, probably want it far away so it doesn't do as much damage to the core of your ship as it would if it was embedded in it. Essentially that's, if you think about the Tomcat, the Foxbat, the SU-27, MiG-29, the reason they have two engines which are quite far apart on the kind of edges of the fuselage is so that if you have a problem with one engine and part of it explodes, part of the turbine gets thrown out and stuff, it may not, or is less likely to damage the other one, so that your redundancy in having two engines is somewhat effective. Okay, I just realized I have used the wrong part, although I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference actually. So I've just used the 37B here, and I should have used the 37A, but I'm looking at the difference between them. I think the only difference is that they don't have, they don't have the pins on. And the thing is, have I missed a 37B somewhere? Because yes, I have. There's a 37B at the front. Okay, so it doesn't. It's not, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. It doesn't make that much difference. Let's say that. Because again, the fit of these is, it's not as precise as you might expect it to be. Let's put it that way. Let's be kind on a Tuesday at the beginning of the week. There we go. We go back to those 37As, including the one, of course, that we broke before. Yes, the 37As don't have locating pins. They're designed to just go flush against the surface. And on these engine pieces, you have, they look like sink marks because they're so small. And that's where they sit. It's basically just saying, this is where they're supposed to go. And then you put your cement on and they'll just weld into those areas. Which is going to be interesting for this one. If it was one of those, if it was the 37Bs that's broken off with a little locating piece, it would have been easier because you could just put the pin in one side. But that is not to be. Okay. So we need a little bit of cement both areas. See if we can get this little tiny 2.5mm long piece of plastic to align where it needs to be. Because I haven't made this easier for myself because I've this one on the top. I may change that. Okay. So you can actually see which end is which because one is sort of slightly slanted and the other isn't. Yeah, I'm going to take the executive decision to remove the one from the bottom, put it at the top, and then use the one that I broke on the less visible underside. That is not cheating, that is strategic location. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Alrighty. So, actually, we're still underneath. I sort of got distracted doing those, all the little Y-shaped 37 ones. This big sort of strut and tank assembly to put underneath. Which there are some really big injection gates. Look at the size of that injection gate going onto a piece which is what, 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters in diameter tops. That is, I would say, non-ideal. Fortunately, single edge cutters need short work of that. All right, we're getting it free, but this is certainly a pretty delicate operation. I mean, the gates are far bigger than what you're trying to remove from the gates. And some of the attachment points are very vague. So you've got this little attachment point coming out to this kind of blob of an injection gate. So I think doing it from underneath, you can see where those little nubs are. Trying to get you to cut it off correctly. Coming in from the top, I think you'd struggle. Yeah, you'd definitely struggle to work out where those were. This side, they've actually sheared off on this one. There. Yeah, that piece, not an easy piece to remove. And it needs pretty extensive cleanup. I've done that. Now we have it. Okay, the thruster pieces go towards the back. Okay, one thing I will say, it's got pretty positive located points. So once you've got this thruster on, you just put all of these in. I think pretty much we can. Although this is pretty vague. These, oh, okay. Something was preventing it. And if you look here, there's a big interconnecting lug which shouldn't be there. That is just to keep the plastic flowing when it's being injected. Okay, part 29 is without doubt the worst thought out part on this entire model. I mean, it's like a spider. Actually, it looks like one of those developmental robots that they try to get AI to navigate mazes or something. Look at that. Okay, now it fits much better in terms of the straight piece. These pieces along the edge are, yeah, you can put them in with tweezers, but man, that's talking about the seeking and Airfix, about how the kits are designed and the thought that goes into them. The advantage of having kits designed by modelers. I mean, the seeking is a great example, but I think any of the newer Airfix kits kind of go along the same thing. There might be the odd piece which is a bit tight or something because of manufacturing tolerances, but the actual design and execution of the kits is usually faultless. That doesn't come through so much here. It's like they've designed something that they're not able to manufacture correctly. They don't have the tolerances to be able to live up to their design standards. So they've designed for a manufacturing process they don't have. But I mean, it all goes together okay. It's not warped. It's not, the pieces aren't off. It's just the connection points are a bit, some of them are a little bit too big, some of them are a little bit too small. It doesn't have finesse. I think that's the word I use. But I mean, that certainly looks the part. Now it's there. And again, what I liked about these, even as a kid, is they look like they would work. You know, they got pipes and struts and stuff. You know, proper engines for landing. You know, thought through rather than just some space wizardry. It helps in the suspension of disbelief. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I think that's everything on the underneath. We are only waiting now for the top pieces. Check frame, everything is gone from there. So yeah, we just have this single frame left. So what are these pieces? Oh, those are for the display. Okay. Right, I've already put on this piece, so we're good there. I think the next piece to go on is going to be this. That didn't come off too badly. A little bit of cleaning up. Not a lot. And again, this is going to be accessible because it's the top frame, so don't worry too much about that. How does it actually fit on? That's the important piece. And look at that. That, by contrast, is perfect. Fit first time. No issues. Perfect alignment. It's kind of what you want to see from a part, isn't it? We have part 42. This long, thin strut piece, which again, the attachment pieces, attachment lugs to the actual frame, screw frame, are pretty thick. Not exactly what you'd wish for, but hey, that goes from here across to here. And again, that fits really nicely. There. Just a little bit more cement on these struts up on the side, just to tack it down. Overall, that's a pretty good fit. I'm quite pleased with that. Which brings us to, well, I think it's the last piece, piece 39. Oh God, which again has very large attachment pieces. This is the one drawback with single-bladed nippers that you've got to be really careful. If you're going to use them for large pieces, is that you don't get the blade stuck and then twist it, because that will destroy them. They're quite capable of cutting through this stuff. But if they get stuck and you twist them, you'll destroy them. I'm not saying how I know that, but I do. So what I would normally do with a piece like this is actually use double-bladed nippers to remove the part, and then I use my single-bladed to actually trim the nubs closer, and then use my scalpel to clean up. But it is possible, as you've seen, to remove them just in one. I'm trying to get these a little bit down from what they are, because obviously I was making sure I took care of my nippers rather than the part necessarily. There. Don't think it's handed direction today, it just pops on the top here, in which case let's put it this way. Oh, it is, because it has a larger lug at the back than it does at the front, so it goes on one way like so. I am going to put the cement on this before putting it on. Getting into that afterwards is going to be a nightmare. So now I can't align it. There. And there we have it. On finished 1/72nd scale MPC Space 1999 Hawk Mark 9 fighter. It's a pretty handsome kit, isn't it? It's a handsome ship. Now I don't actually have the wire adapter and stand here with me. So the wire can either be inserted somewhere in the bottom that I can't see. Oh, that is very clever. The wire can actually be inserted underneath here. So let me see if I can show you with my tweezers. In here, there's a hole the wire then fits into to support the ship. So you don't need to make a hole. And this thruster assembly covers that hole. Now that is clever. Or it fits in through the back of the engine here and goes up inside the ship to hold it there. So I think they've thought really well about that, which is great. But that is not a bad looking kit. I think the main weakness of it are some of the alignment issues that we have with the hull. Now, actually, on the finished kit, it doesn't really matter so much. You know, I said there was a prominent seam on one side. You cannot see that hardly at all. You can if you really just get the light right and angle it down and look. But because these are there, they cover almost all of that. But the weakest part is no doubt these Y-shaped, the 37, number 37 assemblies. A and B, they are equally as bad. And both, I had breakages on both of them. You could replace that with a styrene rod, but of course you didn't need to. But that is the main detractor, I would say. That and the instructions. The instructions are garbage. You know, you can follow them just about, but the clarity of them just isn't there. You know, distinguishing between A and B in some assemblies that have no A and B distinguishing in the instructions, and then having distinguishing, you know, 37B, but not explaining why. Can you imagine an Airfix instruction sheet, or pretty much any, you know, Revell, Teleri, Tamiya, you know, would say what the difference is between some of these things. There'd be a lot more detail. This is very kind of like, you know, just put this in here and it's done. These pieces as well, number 6, dreadful fit. These were these pieces around the waist here, recall. Really awful. On one side specifically. So I've got a couple of things to do with this. Obviously, I need to tidy up some of the seams and make some, you know, tidy things like these seams up with filling. I want to drill out these attitude adjustment jets so they look a bit nicer. Interestingly, there are just blank holes in the back of these torpedoes, which looks a bit nasty. And the seams there again, not great. There's the sink marks in the landing. These two landing strut things. So it is far from a perfect kit. It's a nice kit. It's a nice model. I love the Hawk. As I said on the price stream, I'd be interested to see the 148 scale, but I don't want to pay an awful lot for it. They had several at the Telford show, but there were no bargains to be had on them. So I won't be doing that unless I find a good, decent price on one, either, you know, through the shop or through a show or something. Just to compare and contrast. But it absolutely looks the part. My main decision with this now is, do I do it as it was originally intended, all white, with the black cockpit anti-dazzle pieces, or do I go for as it appeared in the show with the orange livery, which was only introduced because the showrunners, they were called showrunners there, but people, the producers that were working on the show, thought that there'd be too much confusion between the Hawk and the Eagles that were in there because it was a war game, and they wanted to visually make them very distinct. So they pretty sloppily painted the studio model with orange in various places to make it more obvious which the Hawks were, even though this is a very different looking kit, a very different looking model and spaceship to the Eagle transporter, which is by comparison quite a chunky bird, you know, with a big cluster of 4 rockets at the back, you know, the 4 landing pods and the big. I don't think audiences back then were that stupid that they couldn't work out which was which during the show. But anyway, my inclination is to go all white as the model maker was instructed to start with, as it was originally intended. But there is a part of me that does also say orange, white, and black are the channel colours, so it would go really well with that. So I don't know. I'm really 50-50. I'm really torn it. So I think I'm going to put a community post up, and I'm doing myself more responsibility and put it on you guys. So I'll probably put that tomorrow. Probably won't do it tonight. But I think that's a cool looking kit. Would I pay? Because of course I got some of these as stock for the shop, and I just swiped one, so it didn't cost me £40. Would I? Even so, it was still a lot. And if I wasn't doing it for the channel, would I have paid even the amount that I paid for this? I don't know. I think the value proposition for this is really on the edge. I think it's one of those things that if you want to do a Hawk, it's the only really viable contender, right? This at the 48 scale 1.8 MPC. Unless you go to these, there are a few manufacturers that make very bespoke kind of resin kits and things. If you want to spend hundreds of pounds, then that's what you can do anyway. But it's not that much kit for a lot of money. I mean, this is probably the same amount of plastic as in, say, a 72nd scale Beaufort from Airfix, or the a Beaufighter, Mosquito. The Mosquito, Beaufighter, all those Airfix kits I just mentioned, the equivalent Tamiya kits are all around the £20 mark, plus or minus sort of £3 or £4, depending on which kit. And they're all better kits than this is. But they aren't the Space 1999 Hawk. So would I recommend it? I recommend it as I did in the first unboxing. I don't think my opinion has changed from that. What did I give it? 61%, I think it came out in the looking through all the pieces. I'll go through obviously and I'll probably cull a complete build video from these two videos, and if I paint it as well, and obviously go through then, because I've got decals to apply and do the proper analysis, because I have all of the judging criteria. They are, of course, there's some subjectivity in it, but I've tried to make it, as I always do, as scientific as I possibly can, and still within, still make it relatively understandable and moderately entertaining. I don't think that's going to change the score on this much. I think because the decals, I presume, are cartographed, being made in Italy, and from the register and how good they look, they're going to go on without any problem. I'm sure they'll be perfect. Painting it, I mean, if you go for the orange scheme, it's not complex. You spray. I'm going to spray it in automotive white and then work from there. You've got a few bits of silver. Say if you paint it with the orange bits, you've got a few bits of orange, and then any weathering you want to do. So the painting's not going to be complex. The fit is a mix. Some of it is actually really good. I mean, these little wing pieces, the way that when they were clipped in, they went to the right alignment, it was really good. Actually, a lot of manufacturers of aircraft could learn from how MPC did that, because that was really nice. The plastic is a little brittle because these tiny Y-shaped pieces, the number's 37, that number is burnt into my memory now from this build. Those just breaking, and not just on the sprue in the kit from being jostled around, just like trying to cut them off. I broke a couple, as you saw. That I don't think has happened to me with a recent Airfix kit, for instance. Not to that degree, for sure. The bit on some parts was off. There are some seams visible here. There's quite a big one along here which needs to be got rid of because that's very prominent. None on this side. So, yeah, it is a bit of a mixed bag. And yet other pieces like this cross, I don't know what you call this superstructure piece, that went across the spine of the spacecraft, was perfect. So it's a real weird mixed bag. And I think that's it. I've got mixed feelings about it. Some are good, some are bad. I think if you like the subject, I think you will put up with the kit's issues and look through towards the finished model. It's not a dreadful build by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly not like some of the old MPC builds. I've not built the original MPC kit of this, but even just looking at the parts, I've seen kits which are intact, seeing the parts and the instructions. It's better than that, I'm 100% sure. So that's the build. I don't think I can really say much more about it, other than I will put the community post up and see what color I'm going to do it. I'm not doing it silver. I'm sorry. It will be white or white and orange. There's the only two options I'm going to give on the community poll. But I do like the finished kit, but then I am massively biased because I love the subject. That's why I got the kit. So yeah, I would recommend with reservations. If you go into it knowing its issues, with eyes wide open about you're not going to expect it to be a perfect kit build. You're going to have to watch out. There are certain parts which are a pain in the arse, some bits might break, and you're prepared to deal with all of that. It's a nice finished subject, and we'll just have to see how it comes up when it's all painted. So I'm going to leave it there, let you go to your evenings to look at other people's premieres. I know Lex's video is a long one because it's the entire club thing. As I say, if you really want the Telford the full experience, I recommend going and looking at her videos. I've not seen it, but I know she did an awful lot of work. Basically spent the first entire day videoing all of that stuff for you guys. So as I say, that's not the video that I'm going to do. I want to give a flavour, focus on a couple of pieces, and then the second piece of what I'm going to be doing in my video is looking at the competition side of things. And really, it's not about Telford so much as, where we are with competitions, where the IPMS. We talked a lot about it in Airfix and Chill last night. If you've not seen that, check out the recorded stream on that. I took photos of it a lot. Not most of, but I would say at least 50% of the competition entries in the IPMS show. Some of them, and I'll probably do this in the video, if you could tell me which won gold, silver and bronze accurately from the photos alone, I would be astonished. Well, actually, out of a group which one got silver, one got gold, one got bronze, one was commended and one didn't get anything, I think you would struggle. And I am pretty sure in a lot of cases you get it completely wrong. And I think that raises a big question mark about competitions in shows, what purpose they hold. And that's kind of what I want to explore on the second video, rather than just be an exhaustive account of Telford. Because I think it is too big to do that. I think Lexi is sort of trooper for going around and doing that the first day. As I say, by 3 o'clock I was kind of done with models for the first day, and I needed to recharge. So anyway, Lex's video will cover the all the club stands, etc. So go ahead and look at that if you want to. I will return to this, but I probably won't do anything with this until after the Hunter. So I want to get all the little diddly bits done on the Hunter, which is still going on. Oh my God, there are thousands. And then come back to the Hunter, finish that with you guys, and then obviously go to the Academy. And I'll probably use this as a bit of a palette cleanser when I'm getting to saturation point with the Hunter. So thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you for bearing with me with the delayed start. As I say, relocating into slightly more comfortable surroundings, and hopefully I'll be a little bit better set up here, because I think this is probably where I'm going to do the live streams from for the winter. From now on. Now I've got set up at the shop. I've got my setup out in the garage for when I want to do stuff that I'm not recording, and I think here for streaming would be good. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic evening. Have a great week ahead, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.